1960s. The Texaco Man, a 28-foot-tall, 12-ton statue known as Texaco's best friend. Texaco launched them in a campaign to draw people and boost sales. They eventually removed them due to safety concerns from the public. Kaisariani, Athens, May 1, 1944. Nazis execute communist prisoners from Haidari concentration camp. This newly released photograph from Hermann Hoyer's collection, an Oberleutnant in the Wehrmacht, documents one of many atrocities committed during Greece's brutal occupation under fascist forces. 1967. Coco Taylor and Booker White perform at American Folk Blues Festival. Photographer Jean-Pierre Leloir captures these legendary blues artists sharing the stage, preserving a moment when African-American musical traditions captivated European audiences hungry for authentic American roots music. Oslo, 1905. Visiting quarantined family and friends at Ulleville Hospital through windows. Subscribe to British Gallery if you love history, and also subscribe if you live in the United States. Also comment your country name in the comments. 1950s. Robert Bloch, author of Psycho, writes at his desk. His horror novel would inspire Alfred Hitchcock's masterpiece film, revolutionizing thriller cinema and establishing psychological horror as a dominant genre. Bloch's dark imagination created stories that explored humanity's deepest fears and violent impulses. Boston, USA, 1975. Stanley Forman photographs a fire escape collapse. This Pulitzer Prize-winning image captures a woman and child falling as the metal structure gives way during a rescue attempt, documenting urban infrastructure failure and the constant dangers facing firefighters and residents. Name your favorite movie or TV show role from this popular Soul Train dancer and 90s movie actress. Her performances defined an era of entertainment, bridging television dance culture with Hollywood cinema, while representing Black excellence and beauty across multiple entertainment mediums throughout her career. 1979. The Iran hostage crisis begins when Iranian revolutionaries stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, taking 52 Americans hostage for 444 days. This crisis dominates Carter's presidency, damages U.S.-Iranian relations permanently, and reshapes Middle Eastern geopolitics profoundly. March 5, 1926. Pinchas Rutenberg receives official concession for using the Jordan River and Yarmouk River. Rutenberg establishes the hydroelectric power plant providing electricity to both Jewish and Arab communities, demonstrating technological cooperation before escalating conflicts would divide the region violently. Napoli, Italy, circa 1870. Giorgio Conrad photographs a Neapolitan peasant man and woman eating spaghetti with hands and drinking wine. This ethnographic image documents traditional Italian dining customs and working-class life before modern table manners and utensils became universal across all social classes. Melbourne Olympics, 1956. The Sun reports on the blood in the water match. Hungarian water polo players battle Soviet opponents shortly after USSR crushed Hungary's revolution. The brutal game became a symbolic proxy battle, with blood literally staining the pool during violent confrontations. 2019. International financier Jeffrey Epstein was a sweatshirt inside his private jet known as Lolita Express. This aircraft facilitated his sex trafficking operation, transporting powerful men and underage girls. Epstein's subsequent arrest and suspicious death exposed elite corruption and systemic abuse. Times Square, 1979. Bill Murray hangs out casually. Before superstardom with Ghostbusters and countless beloved films, the young comedian enjoys New York's gritty streets during the city's troubled era when Times Square represented urban decay rather than today's sanitized tourist destination. Atletico Madrid, 1954. The newsroom at Estadio Metropolitano captures sports journalism operations. Reporters worked typewriters producing match coverage for eager readers when newspapers dominated sports media before television broadcasts would eventually transform how millions consumed football news and highlights worldwide. Paris, 1912. Franz Reichelt, inventor of a pre-modern wingsuit, jumps from the Eiffel Tower to his death in a failed test flight. Told multiple times not to attempt it, he remained confident. Tower management thought he would use a test dummy. Circa 1986. Krista McAuliffe, the teacher in space, dons her launch entry helmet during training. Weeks later, She and 6 crew members would die when Space Shuttle Challenger exploded 73 seconds after launch, devastating America and temporarily halting the shuttle program. 1973. Preparations for Concorde 001 to chase the total solar eclipse. The occupants experienced totality for 74 minutes, a record standing ever since. This remarkable scientific mission demonstrated supersonic aviation's unique capabilities for astronomical research and observation. New York City, May 14, 1977. Dolly Parton and Mick Jagger backstage after Dolly's performance at the Bottom Line. Alan Tannenbaum photographs these music legends from completely different genres meeting, demonstrating mutual respect between country and rock royalty during the diverse 70s music scene. 1898. 4-year-old Riyad al-Sol, who would become the first prime minister of independent Lebanon. This childhood portrait shows no hint of the political leadership ahead, as he would help negotiate Lebanon's independence from France and establish the nation's fragile confessional government system. Bakur Kurdistan, Turkey, 1991. A young Kurdish refugee, a child of war, at the Gulf War's end. Fleeing Saddam Hussein's brutal retaliation after the failed uprising, Kurdish families escaped across mountains into refugee camps, where hundreds died from exposure and disease. Hanoi Old Quarters, December 1972. Total destruction of dense populated areas after U.S. airstrikes during Christmas bombings. Operation Linebacker 2's massive B-52 raids devastated North Vietnam's capital, killing thousands of civilians and intensifying international condemnation of American bombing campaigns. 1970s. Anwar Sadat, former leader of Egypt, shaves in the mirror. This candid moment captures the Egyptian president during his transformative leadership when he would make peace with Israel, fundamentally altering Middle Eastern politics before his assassination by Islamic extremists opposed to compromise. Miami Mansion, circa 1930. Al Capone works out. The notorious gangster maintains his physical fitness while living lavishly on proceeds from bootlegging, gambling, and organized crime. Despite controlling Chicago's underworld, he would eventually be imprisoned for tax evasion rather than violent crimes. Gallipoli, 1915. A British soldier kneels at his friend's grave. This devastating campaign against Ottoman forces killed hundreds of thousands in futile attempts to capture the Dardanelles Strait. The tragedy particularly devastated Australia and New Zealand, whose troops suffered catastrophic losses. 1943. Betty Grable donates her nylon stockings at a war bond rally. The pin-up star supports the war effort by sacrificing scarce materials. Her glamorous image adorned millions of soldiers' lockers, providing morale and representing the idealized American femininity they fought to protect. Latvia, August 13, 1990. The last photo of Viktor Tsoi, frontman of legendary Soviet rock band Kino, taken 2 days before he died in a car crash at 28. His death shocked millions of fans across the USSR and cemented his status. Princeton University, December 29, 1947. Albert Einstein and J. Robert Oppenheimer posed together. These brilliant physicists revolutionized modern science through relativity and atomic weapons respectively, though Oppenheimer would later deeply regret enabling nuclear destruction and advocate for arms control passionately. 1853. Daguerreotype captures Mexican President Antonio López de Santa Anna. The controversial leader's complex legacy includes losing Texas at San Jacinto, selling territory to the United States through the Gadsden Purchase, and serving multiple presidential terms during Mexico's turbulent mid-19th century. Central Iraq, March 29, 2003. U.S. Navy Hospital Corpsman Richard Barnett holds an Iraqi child after confused crossfire tears apart a family when local soldiers apparently forced civilians toward American positions. This tragic moment captures war's devastating impact on innocents caught between combatants. London, 1939. American actress Phyllis Gordon poses with her cheetah. Exotic pet ownership among wealthy entertainers demonstrates the era's different attitudes toward wildlife conservation and animal welfare before endangered species protections and ethical concerns transformed public consciousness about captive wild animals. 1930s Italy. Balilla was an Italian children's fascist organization analogous to Hitler Youth. The name comes from a Genos boy who in 1746 threw a stone at an Austrian soldier, starting a rebellion against occupying troops. Mussolini appropriated this legend for propaganda. Circa 1917 to 1918, two British officers rest by a wrecked Mark IV tank. These armored vehicles revolutionized warfare despite mechanical unreliability and crew vulnerability. The destroyed tank represents the brutal Western Front's industrial slaughter, where technological innovation met human suffering. 1910. A naval doctor of the KUK Kriegsmarine examines sailors returning from shore leave. This medical inspection checks for venereal diseases contracted during port visits. Naval authorities worried about sexually transmitted infections spreading through ship's crews, threatening operational effectiveness and public health. Columbia, 1949. George Macready, Nina Fock, and George Raft in Johnny Allegro. This film noir captures post-war Hollywood's fascination with crime dramas featuring morally ambiguous characters, shadowy cinematography, and cynical worldviews that reflected Cold War anxieties and disillusionment with American society. 1940s. Nancy Wake, code name Helene, was the most decorated Allied servicewoman of World War II. She parachuted into France assisting the resistance, known as the White Mouse by the Gestapo for her ability evading capture despite being their most wanted person. Houston, 1955. Ella Fitzgerald sits in a jail cell after arrest for singing to an integrated audience. The legendary jazz singer faced brutal racism even at her career's peak, as Southern segregation laws criminalized black and white people gathering together for any purpose. 1918. A French soldier wears a helmet with chainmail protecting eyes from shell fragments, stones, and dangerous elements. This specialized protective equipment demonstrates World War I's horrific new weapons that blinded soldiers, requiring innovative defenses against industrial warfare's unprecedented brutality and permanent disfigurement. Circa 1855. Elderly couple at the kitchen table by Henry Peach Robinson, who created detailed images by combining multiple negatives. This pioneering photographic technique allowed complex compositions impossible with single exposures, advancing photography as both documentary tool and artistic medium during its earliest decades. Egypt, 1961. Louis Armstrong plays trumpet for his wife Lucille on their trip. The jazz legend brings music to their travels, demonstrating the deep bond between them. Armstrong's international tours spread American jazz globally while challenging racial stereotypes through his extraordinary talent. Seoul, Korea, 1910. Street view shows various apparel. Photographer unknown captures Korean traditional dress before Japanese colonization would attempt erasing cultural identity. This scene documents independent Korea's final years before brutal occupation that wouldn't end until 1945, after World War II's conclusion. Mexico. The colossal Olmec heads demonstrate Mesoamerica's earliest major civilization. These massive stone sculptures carved over 3,000 years ago depict rulers with distinctive features. Their creation required sophisticated engineering and social organization, challenging assumptions about ancient American technological capabilities and artistic achievement. 1857. Future emperors of Mexico, Maximilian von Habsburg and Charlotte of Belgium, posed during their European royal life. Within a decade, Napoleon III would install Maximilian as Mexico's puppet emperor. His reign would end in execution by firing squad. Sandy Lake, Ontario, 1956. A woman carries a child in a tikinagun, traditional indigenous cradleboard. This photograph documents continuing native parenting practices and cultural traditions, despite Canadian government policies aimed at assimilating indigenous peoples and destroying their ancestral customs through residential schools. November 10, 1942. USAF P-40FS takeoff from USS Chenango to fly to Morocco airfield supporting North African operations. This carrier-based launch demonstrates American military logistics and innovation, as fighters normally operating from land bases adapt to carrier operations for strategic deployment. Before division, Korea existed as unified nation for centuries before Cold War politics split it along the 38th parallel. These photographs document Korean life before partition created two hostile states locked in permanent confrontation, with families separated and a culture violently divided by superpower rivalry. Roermond, the Netherlands. The Street Christopher pre-1892 and 2017. This comparison reveals how Dutch architecture and urban planning evolved over more than a century, as historical buildings either survived, were demolished, or were carefully preserved depending on changing cultural values. Kabul City Bazaar, 1969. Two Pashtun hillmen navigate the marketplace. This scene captures Afghanistan during a relatively peaceful era before Soviet invasion and decades of war would devastate the country, transforming it from developing nation into conflict zone plagued by foreign intervention. November 10, 1992. Remembering Chuck Connors today, on his passing anniversary. The actor achieved fame as television's rifleman, embodying rugged Western masculinity during the genre's golden age. His athletic background and commanding presence made him a beloved figure across multiple entertainment generations. November 11, 1918. World War I ends after 4 years of trench warfare, leaving an estimated 40 million dead. The war to end all wars paradoxically sowed seeds for World War II through harsh peace terms and unresolved grievances that would explode 2 decades later. November 8, 1975. 28-year-old Arnold Schwarzenegger wins the 1975 Mr. Olympia competition. The Austrian bodybuilder dominates his sport before conquering Hollywood and eventually becoming California's governor, demonstrating ambition and determination that transcended his immigrant origins and thick accent. Istanbul's Tofane Quarter before the Mendes demolitions. Comparison between 1890s and 1950s shows massive urban transformation as modernization destroyed historic Ottoman neighborhoods. Prime Minister Mendes's controversial urban renewal projects raised irreplaceable architecture, prioritizing automobiles over preserving cultural heritage and traditional streetscapes. Circa 1937. André Steiner photographs a weightlifter demonstrating raw physical strength. This artistic image captures athletic power through dramatic lighting and composition, elevating sports photography beyond mere documentation into aesthetic expression, celebrating human physicality and determination during the interwar modernist movement. November 11, 1925. Howard Carter and his autopsy team begin unwrapping Pharaoh Tutankhamun's mummy. This historic archaeological moment reveals the pharaoh's preserved body after 3,000 years, unlocking ancient Egyptian burial secrets and captivating worldwide public imagination with treasures from the Boy King's tomb. Beverly Hills, May 1956. Sukarno and Marilyn Monroe attend a party together. Indonesia's founding president meets Hollywood's ultimate sex symbol, demonstrating the era's fascinating intersections between international politics and American entertainment culture during the Cold War's complex diplomatic landscape and cultural exchanges. Ujiji, Lake Tanganyika, November 10, 1871. After a grueling African expedition, journalist Henry Morton Stanley finds missing explorer David Livingstone, greeting him with legendary words, "Dr. Livingstone, I presume." This famous meeting captures Victorian exploration's romantic era, when Europeans mapped Africa's interior. Nevada, 1908. Unknown man dies from eating library paste. This bizarre tragedy demonstrates the desperate poverty or mental illness driving someone to consume toxic adhesive. The incident reflects harsh frontier life, where medical care remained scarce and survival itself challenged many struggling individuals. 1939. The launch of German battleship Tirpitz represents Nazi naval ambitions. This massive warship would terrorize Allied convoys until British forces finally sank her in 1944. Her destruction required years of attacks and demonstrated the enormous resources required to neutralize powerful capital ships. Queenstown, Cobb, Ireland, May 1915. Lifeboats of RMS Lusitania, which sank in just 18 minutes after German U-boat torpedoing. Nearly 1,200 passengers and crew drowned. The attack, killing many Americans, helped shift U.S. public opinion toward eventually entering World War I against Germany. November 11, 1925. Chicago observes Armistice Day with ceremonies, closed businesses, and dedicates Soldiers Field, a $5 million stadium in Grant Park. Frank Loden praises the American Legion, while Scott Lewis calls for conscripting wealth and material to address post-war issues and economic inequality. 1952. Marilyn Monroe poses for her first Life magazine cover photo shoot with photographer Philip Halsman. This session helps establish Monroe's iconic image, transforming her from contract player into international superstar whose beauty and vulnerability would captivate millions across decades of fame. November 10, 1975. The SS Edmund Fitzgerald sinks in Lake Superior. All 29 men were killed and still remain on the ship to this day. Gordon Lightfoot's haunting ballad about the tragedy would immortalize these sailors who vanished beneath the Great Lakes' treacherous waters. November 12, 1975. Overseas National Airways Flight 032 suffers bird strike taking off from JFK International Airport. The crew aborts takeoff and stops on a taxiway. All 139 occupants survive, but the aircraft is destroyed after the bird strike causes uncontained engine failure. MGM, 1949. Ava Gardner and CYD Charisse on the set of East Side, West Side. These Hollywood beauties represent the studio system's glamour during its final golden years before television and antitrust rulings would fragment the entertainment industry and transform movie production forever. Birmingham, UK, Brumrock Festival, 1976. Jackie Fox and Joan Jett of the Runaways perform. These teenage rockers challenge gender stereotypes by playing aggressive rock music typically dominated by men. Their pioneering efforts opened doors for countless female musicians, despite industry sexism and public hostility. New South Wales, 1886. Mugshots of 6 defendants in the Mount Rennie rape case. 20 men and teenage boys gang raped a 16-year-old servant girl. These 6 were among 10 found guilty. It was the region's only gang rape, resulting in convictions. Matanzas, Cuba, 1895 to 1898. C. Ruiz de Castro photographs 3rd Company of the 1st Battalion of the Navarra Regiment of Spain's Army of Operations. These soldiers fight Cuban independence forces during the final years before American intervention would end Spanish colonial rule. October 18, 1938. French Ambassador André François Poncet visits Hitler, later coining the name Eagle's Nest while describing the experience. This high-resolution photograph captures Nazi leadership's mountain retreat, where Hitler held meetings and entertained visitors at his spectacular Bavarian mountaintop complex, overlooking breathtaking alpine scenery. Berchtesgaden, Bavarian Alps, May 1945. Easy Company, 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, known from Band of Brothers, rests after capturing Hitler's Eagle's Nest. The bunker complex was completed in 1938 for 30 million Reichsmark, equaling around $163 million today. June 1966. Young lady poses on her dress in this Kodachrome shot. Her confident posture and fashionable outfit capture mid-60s youth culture's optimism and style before the decade's darker turn towards social upheaval, political assassination, and Vietnam War protests would transform American society. Late 1966. Before becoming a global icon with Blondie, Debbie Harry started in a psychedelic folk band called The Wind in the Willows. She joined the group singing and playing various instruments, beginning her musical journey that would eventually lead to punk rock stardom. Valencia, Spain, circa 1880. J. Lauron photographs fishermen working their trade. This ethnographic image documents traditional Spanish maritime labor and coastal life before industrialization would transform fishing from artisanal craft into mechanized industry dominated by factory ships and modern preservation technology. Eagle Lion Films, 1949. Barbara Payton and Lloyd Bridges in Trapped. This film noir demonstrates the genre's enduring appeal and Bridges' versatility before television fame with Sea Hunt. Payton's beauty masked personal troubles that would eventually destroy her career through scandal and substance abuse. Vindolanda, Northern Britain, circa 1st century CE. The Roman shoe beneath the earth discovered by archaeologists in 2023 reveals a 2,000-year-old leather shoe preserved in a well. Its elegant perforated design and laced front belonged to a refined woman, possibly. 1962. The first photograph ever taken of the Rolling Stones captures the band before global superstardom. These young musicians from London's blues scene have no idea they'll become rock legends touring for decades, defining rebellion and somehow outlasting countless younger bands through adaptability. England, 1944. A U.S. soldier joins children in a jump rope game. This tender moment shows American servicemen bonding with British civilians during World War II, building friendships across the Atlantic that would cement the special relationship between nations united against fascism and totalitarian aggression. Circa 1894. Mark Twain experiments with electricity in Nikola Tesla's laboratory. America's greatest humorist meets history's most visionary inventor, demonstrating intellectual curiosity and friendship between creative geniuses from completely different fields, who both revolutionize their respective domains through imagination and persistence. 1973. John Candy and Bill Murray posed together during their Second City comedy troupe days. These future comedy legends honed their craft in Chicago's improvisational theater before conquering film and television, bringing joy to millions through their unique brands of humor and memorable characters. Circa 1935, The Little Rascals with P.T. the Pitbull capture Depression-era childhood entertainment. These child actors and their canine co-star created beloved comedy shorts that entertained generations. Which character was your favorite among this diverse group of young performers bringing laughter to struggling Americans? Young Alan Rickman at 18 shows no hint of the commanding presence and distinctive voice that would make him one of cinema's most memorable character actors. From Die Hard's villain to Harry Potter's Snape, he would master roles requiring intelligence and subtle menace. Eastern Front, 1916. A Russian imperial officer feeds milk to a cat and hedgehog. This gentle moment amid World War I's brutality shows humanity persisting even during conflict, as soldiers found comfort caring for vulnerable creatures while surrounded by death and destruction in the trenches. Harlem, New York City, 1970. Camilo Jose Vergara photographs a man on his way. This image documents Harlem during a troubled era when urban decay, poverty, and neglect devastated the historic African-American neighborhood before later gentrification would transform it dramatically while displacing longtime residents. 1941. The Empire State Building dominates Manhattan's skyline. Photo courtesy of Gertrude Feininger's estate captures the iconic skyscraper during its first decade, standing as the world's tallest building and symbol of American ambition during the Depression's depths and World War II's beginning. 1970s. Schoolgirls head to Rockaway on the train. Their casual fashion and carefree attitudes capture New York youth culture during the decade when the city teetered near bankruptcy yet maintained its vibrant energy and diversity despite crime, decay, and fiscal crisis threatening urban collapse. Lower Manhattan, 1889. 6th Avenue and the elevated railway shows the city's transportation infrastructure before subways. These elevated trains darkened streets below and created constant noise but connected neighborhoods efficiently, defining urban life before they were eventually demolished and replaced by underground systems. 1970s, Brooklyn captures the borough during its most troubled era. Urban decay, white flight, arson, and poverty devastated neighborhoods as factories closed and middle-class residents fled to suburbs. Yet communities persisted, maintaining cultural traditions that would eventually fuel Brooklyn's dramatic 21st century renaissance. Poughkeepsie, New York, 1890. The rail bridge spanning the Hudson River demonstrates Gilded Age engineering ambition. These massive iron structures connected regions and enabled commerce, transforming America from agricultural nation into industrial powerhouse through railroad networks that carried goods and people across vast distances. Paris, 1952. A roasted chestnut seller works his trade. This traditional street vendor represents Parisian culture and working-class life. The simple pleasure of warm roasted chestnuts on cold days connects modern city dwellers to centuries of French tradition and seasonal culinary customs. White Stone Bridge, New York City, 1949. The suspension bridge connects Queens to the Bronx across the East River. These massive infrastructure projects enabled suburban sprawl by giving automobiles priority over public transit, reshaping American cities and metropolitan regions for automobile-centered transportation patterns. 1960s. New York City subway shows the transit system before graffiti and crime would devastate it during the 70s. These underground trains carried millions of working-class New Yorkers daily, providing essential transportation that enabled the city's economic vitality and social diversity across 5 boroughs. Manhattan's East Village, 1985. The neighborhood retains its gritty bohemian character before gentrification would transform it. Artists, punks, immigrants, and poor families coexist in tenements and walk-ups, creating vibrant street culture before rising rents would eventually force out longtime residents. 1910s. Immigrants aboard an ocean liner approaching Ellis Island gaze at the Statue of Liberty. Edwin Levick photographs their first glimpse of America, capturing hope and anxiety as millions seek better lives. This journey through Ellis Island would define American identity as a nation of immigrants. Mid-1920s. Fifth Avenue in New York City shows elegant urban streetscape during the Jazz Age. Automobiles mix with pedestrians on wide boulevards lined with department stores and fashionable shops, representing the prosperity and cultural confidence defining America's roaring 20s before depression would devastate the economy. 1967. Fifth Avenue in New York City during the 60s shows urban vitality amid social upheaval. The street maintains its commercial importance while surrounding neighborhoods experience white flight, racial tensions, and counterculture rebellion that would fundamentally transform American cities and society during this tumultuous decade. 1905. The Wendell Mansion at 39th Street and Fifth Avenue in New York City represents Gilded Age wealth. These massive private residences occupied prime Manhattan real estate before commercial development would eventually replace them with office towers and luxury apartment buildings, serving modern capitalist economy. Early 1880s. The Brooklyn Bridge under construction shows the massive engineering project that required years of dangerous labor. Workers risked their lives building this iconic suspension bridge that would connect Brooklyn to Manhattan, transforming both boroughs and establishing New York's dominance as America's greatest city. New York City, 1940. Lowe's Theater on Canal Street represents the golden age of movie palaces. These ornate theaters offered escape and entertainment to working-class audiences during the Depression and World War II, providing air conditioning, glamour, and Hollywood dreams to millions seeking relief from daily struggles. Brooklyn, 1918. Water Street under the Brooklyn Bridge shows the waterfront's industrial character. Warehouses, docks, and factories lined the East River where longshoremen loaded ships carrying goods to global markets, making Brooklyn's waterfront essential to New York's dominance in international trade and commerce. Manhattan, 1950s. A subway car shows the transit system's vintage rolling stock. These trains carried millions of New Yorkers daily through underground tunnels, connecting neighborhoods and enabling the city's economic vitality. Mass transit made New York possible by moving workers efficiently across vast distances daily. New York City, 1940. Toffanetti's restaurant at 43rd Street and Broadway serves diners in Times Square. These large casual restaurants fed tourists and workers in Manhattan's theater district, providing affordable meals in bustling surroundings before fast food chains would eventually replace independent operators citywide. Early 1900s. Flatiron Building under construction in New York City shows the iconic wedge-shaped skyscraper rising. This pioneering steel frame tower helped establish New York's vertical architecture as developers built upward on expensive Manhattan land, creating the dramatic skyline that defines the city globally. Manhattan, about 1900. An oyster and clam stand by the South Street Pier serves waterfront workers and visitors. These humble food vendors provided fresh seafood to working-class New Yorkers when the harbor teemed with commercial shipping, before pollution and overfishing would devastate local shellfish populations. Jones Beach, 1981. Long Island's famous public beach remains popular decades after Robert Moses created it. This massive recreational facility demonstrates how government infrastructure projects enabled working-class leisure, giving urban residents access to beaches and parks that enriched lives beyond work and survival.